All right. All right. Welcome to Wausau Distance Education. This is MBF3C, Grade 11 College Prep Math. My name's Pete, and I'm your teacher. So, welcome to we're class 3 of week 4. And we're actually getting ready to wrap up Unit 2 today. This week. We're going to start Lesson 10, the last lesson in Unit 2. Now, we'll probably cover most of the material today. We'll see tomorrow just how much we have left. And what I'll likely do tomorrow is do a review of Unit 2. But just to prepare yourself and just get ready, make sure you have a copy of the Unit 3 materials available. Okay, if you don't have them already, ask your DEC to get you the Unit 3 materials. Okay, so what we've been looking at so far is different ways that we calculate investments and annuities and different things that we can work out with them. Of course, it's always handy to have some extra knowledge, say when you're going in to get a loan, or if you're planning for retirement, because that's one of the things that a lot of us, you have to prepare for retirement so far in advance that it just doesn't seem real. But yet those decisions you make when you're in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s can really have a big impact on your lifestyle in your 60s and 70s. So that's just something that we kind of want to keep in mind. Give you as much knowledge as possible. So let's take a look here then. This is lesson 10, and we're going to talk about buying vehicles. So now we're going to make it more specific, because next to your home, next to buying a house, and for a lot of people, your vehicle is the biggest asset you have. It's the biggest purchase you'll ever make. Okay, and it costs a lot of money to buy it, costs a lot of money to maintain it, and so it can really affect your bottom line. Okay, so we want to talk about the process of buying vehicles, the ins and outs of it, and just how to work out the different costs, okay, for a vehicle. Now we're on page 29 of Unit 2. So just okay, sorry about that. So we're on page 29 of Unit 2. Now, when we're working out the costs of a vehicle, it's really important to know in advance everything. Because, and I'm sure we all know that person that they have a nice truck or something and they never drive it because they don't have gas money, because a part broke and they can't afford to fix it, right? And so that's what we're trying to avoid here. We're trying to make sure that you know upfront all your costs, okay, every little thing, even the stuff the dealer might not tell you in advance, so that you can make an informed decision. And so when you buy your truck, you also will have, not only will you know how much you're going to pay for it, how much your ongoing costs are going to be, how much your maintenance is going to be, how much your fuel is going to cost. Even something as simple, and I do this calculation myself, if I want to drive from Sioux Lookout to Dryden, right, and buy my groceries, I actually know how much it costs me to drive to Dryden in my car. Okay. And I take that into account when I'm buying groceries and driving, because I wouldn't go to Walmart to buy boxes of cereal for $2, even though they're a lot cheaper there than they are here. But if it costs me $15 to drive there, it's not worth it. Okay? So that's the sort of financial awareness that we're trying to kind of head towards. So when we're buying vehicles, dealerships have their own kind of language. It's sort of a vocabulary there. So let's look at some of the words that you'll see. Okay. Now this is page 29. So it says not all dealerships and vehicles have the same additional costs, but it's still important what they are. So a lot of times you're going to see the price, the sticker price, on the vehicle, right? So let's say you're shopping and you find a truck that you'll really like. It's a brand new truck. Okay, and in one of the windows you're going to see a sticker, a list that has all the options and then the price. Okay, and that's not actually the whole price. So the manufacturer suggested retail price, MSRP, that's, what the sort of the list price is. The thing about vehicles, unlike some other things, you can usually negotiate a lower price, almost always at lower price. The exception is there are some cases where you're going to pay a higher price. If you're a sports car enthusiast and there's a limited edition sports car, a Mustang or a Camaro or something, you may actually end up paying more than MSRP, but generally you can negotiate down. Now, there's also usually a freight charge or a delivery charge or something like that, and it's not, in Canada anyway, it tends to be a flat fee, $800 or $1,000 or $600, something around there. And it's not because we're in Sioux Lookout or not because, well, I don't think they deliver it to Wiagamal. Maybe they would. But just because they charge a flat delivery charge to everywhere. Okay, it doesn't matter whether you're in Toronto or anywhere. You get the same delivery charge. Okay. Now there's a strange little tax, a tire and an air conditioning tax. They charge you $20 per tire, including the spare. It's supposedly to help dispose of used tires. Maybe that works. And then there's an air conditioner tax to recapture the chemicals that are used in the air conditioning system. Now, I don't know. We've switched over to a better system, but I guess we're using better chemicals in our air conditioning systems, but still they have to be captured with special equipment when the air conditioner is taken out of commission, when the vehicle is taken out of commission. Okay, so we pay there's a tax for that. It's about $100 for that whole thing. We'll see. There's different fees. And then there's the gas tax, or I call it the gas guzzler tax. And it's kind of an interesting thing because basically it was supposed to only apply to big engine vehicles. Well, pretty much any vehicle that we drive in the north is a big engine vehicle as far as that tax goes. So we pay an extra $100 or so for that tax. Okay, if you're in Toronto and you're driving one of those little 3-cylinder, tiny little cars around town, then you probably wouldn't pay that gas tax. But for anything we drive up here, you're probably going to be paying that tax. And now, this may seem a little strange, but buying a car is fairly complex. There's an administration fee, and it's just something that they charge. Maybe you don't begrudge them because it is a fairly complex thing. There's government paperwork to fill out and stuff like that. So they charge some money sometimes to do that. Sometimes also if you're financing the vehicle, they'll charge you money to put your application through. And then a license plate fee, which is actually just something you would normally do anyway. If you pay the dealership, then when you get your vehicle, it's got the license plate's already bolted on there for you, and your ownership and all that stuff is in the glove box. If you don't pay that fee, you can do it yourself, but you have to go down to the Service Ontario, you have to wait, you have to fill out all the paperwork yourself, and then you have to go and put the license on there. So, it can be a good deal. Depends on whether you like doing that sort of thing or not. Okay. Now, there's a couple other things, and just a sec here. Okay, I think that's good. Yeah, there's a couple other charges. They charge you for gas. I mean, gas isn't free, and especially to fill up a big truck, they're going to charge you some money for it. Usually they'll give you half a tank of gas and just charge you the going rate for half a tank of gas. Now, if you're planning to pick up your truck and go right up the winter road, that's something you might want to ask them. Say, look, can you top it off for me, and then just negotiate a price that's more reasonable than what they would charge you. The option is just that you just have to know where there's a gas station that's going to be open, that you can immediately go there and get it filled up, right? And then a lien payout. Now, this is something, let's say that you're trading in your old truck and you still owe money on it. So basically that's going to be that money. They'll give you credit for the value of the vehicle, but then they'll take away the the balance owing on it, right? So if you trade in your truck and they give you, say, $10,000 for it, but you owe 5,000 on it, then basically you're going to be up 5,000. But they'll count it. It'll be two separate things: the value of the trade-in, and then the lien. Okay. So those are the sorts of things you'll see. Now, really important here is this thing called the deal review. Okay, and you should get one as far as that goes when you're trying to buy a new vehicle. Okay, it's a deal. The deal review is a piece of paper that shows all of the fees, every single fee, every calculation, every credit, right? Everything. Okay, so you should get one of those before you sign anything. And I'll tell you something: make sure when you get that, anything that's blank, make sure you cross it out or something like that. Don't, they'll say, oh, well, we'll fill that in later. The administration fee, oh, we'll fill that in later. No. Right? Most of these new car dealers are okay, but every once in a while you get a scoundrel, So you wanna guard against that stuff. So you should get a printout, and we're gonna look at deal reviews a little later on in the lesson here and see what it looks like. But basically, it's a sheet that gives you everything you need to know about the purchase, and the bottom line on the deal review is how much you're going to pay. Okay, it'll tell you what your payments are, everything. Okay, now sometimes you'll get a manufacturer's rebate, and a good example is if you've just graduated from college or something. Sometimes up to a year after that, the manufacturer will give you $500 off. If you're a student, sometimes they'll give you some money off. If you're switching from one maker's vehicles to another, sometimes they'll give you a rebate, and that's usually they sometimes will put that in the deal review, and sometimes you just have to wait after you've made the purchase and you get a check in the mail. Okay, so that's rebates. It's very common to get rebates. Most dealers will just calculate it into the price, so you never really see the rebate, but then it reduces the cost of the vehicle. And then finally, this word called depreciates or depreciation. Unlike some things where you're probably going to use it until it's used up, right? If you buy a microwave oven, right, you're going to buy a microwave oven at Walmart, pay $100 for it, you use it, and 5 years down the road, 8 years down the road, it just you try to pop some popcorn, and it just doesn't happen, right? It pops for 10 seconds, and then that's it. It stops, right? And you look at it, it's like, man, So then you get a new microwave oven, okay? Very, very few people are going to say, well, my microwave oven, it's popped a few bags of popcorn. 3 years, I want to get a new model with Bluetooth, right? So most of us just use stuff up until it's used up. But with a vehicle, because they're so costly, because they're so valuable, most people don't use them up, right? It's relatively rare that somebody buys a new vehicle and just drives it until it stops somewhere on a winter road. Well, that might be me, but most people don't. So this idea of depreciation helps us to understand what the value of your vehicle is over time. Okay. And so as the years go by, the value of your vehicle goes down. Now that value that it goes down is related to the length of time you've had it and to the original purchase price, and then a depreciation factor, which at the very beginning, when we first get the vehicle, it's an estimate based on the reputation of the manufacturer, on previous editions of that model. But over time, that number starts being determined by things like maintenance history of other, right? So if there was a really good batch of Ford F-150s one particular year, like they were really good and they never broke down and parts didn't wear out, then it would depreciate less than, say, another model year where they started rusting and they had all sorts of problems, right? And that happens, right? And so the depreciation is based on the year of the car, because they want, you need to know some history about that whole batch. The good thing is if you're buying a used car, that can sort of help you understand what you're getting. Okay, so that was some of the language that we use. So if you encounter some words in the material, then you can look at those definitions or just do a Google search, which might give you actually clearer definitions of them. Okay. So now I drew a line there because the course material kind of runs right into the next section without really giving us a little bit of warning there. So it says that when we're financing a new vehicle, we're going to use the annuity formula. Okay. Now, what this means is that the R, this is our monthly payment, or this is our payment, our regular payment. Okay. Now, you can pay a vehicle monthly, but it's actually usually saves you some money to pay it bi-weekly. You may even be able to pay it weekly depending on the financing, how you got your financing. Okay. Now, the PV for the vehicle is just it's the cost, right? It's the total cost of the vehicle, right? And then everything else is what we're used to. The I is the interest rate divided by the number of compounding periods per year. And the N is the total number of compounding periods. So typically, you'll be financing a new vehicle for 4 years, 5 years, something like that. Anything more than that, you really kind of, I don't even know if you can get a 6-year financing. Okay. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, there are many advantages and disadvantages to buying a new vehicle. It's important to research what you want and ask lots of questions before buying. Yeah, ask someone that's already had that vehicle, preferably someone that's your neighbor or someone you know, right? Because if I have a truck and I drive it around through Lookout, my experience with it might be different than someone who drives your truck up and down the ice road, okay, to Winter Road. So it could be quite different. I've had my on the other hand, some vehicles have really good reputations and they last and last and last. So you have to ask around and do your research because it is one of the biggest purchases you're going to make. Okay. Now the other thing is that when you're buying a new vehicle, you're going to pay the base price, and then you're going to get options on it. Okay. Now some options are good, right? Adjustable seating. All right, especially if there's more than one driver and their heights are vastly different. Have an electric seat to adjust things, to adjust the pedals, to adjust the steering wheel can actually be, it can be a good value. Like I said, especially if there's like a really tall person and a really short person driving the same vehicle. And then, having a sunroof or moonroof, as they call it, a spoiler, chrome wheels, air conditioning. Those are all things that cost extra money. A nice sound system, right? Now, some of that you can put on, right? And some people can put a sound system in, but remember, you got to pick someone that's going to do that to your brand new vehicle. Okay, so something to think about if you're going to get an aftermarket one. Same as the air conditioning. You can have air conditioning installed in a vehicle. I had one once. And it was okay, but I think it would have been better to have the factory air conditioning. It probably would have cost more, but I had some problems with it. It wasn't the air conditioning I had problems with. It was they didn't waterproof. They had to cut holes in the firewall and stuff like that. And they didn't put all the parts back. They didn't seal everything up. So I had water leaking in and cold air. It was terrible until I got it fixed, and then it was fine. But there's one of the risks of going with aftermarket, right? You save some money, but it can also cost. There's some costs involved. So you're going to pay extra for the options, and those options can really add up, right? You can find a truck with a base price of $60,000 and easily add $20,000 worth of options. You get a cover on the back, you get a bed liner, right? You get a winch on the front, you get the brush guards. You can really deck out your truck. Which is fine, but it does add to the price of it, right? And then taxes, of course, they're gonna have some taxes. All right, well, let's take a look at just a straightforward example here. We have a car cost $21,500, so that's probably, if that's a new car, that's quite, that's a little grocery getter, whatever we call it, a little car to run around town. Um, how much will it cost, including 15% taxes? So they're just saying that the taxes will be 15%. So what we do here, there's two ways to solve this. One is just to multiply the base price by 0.15, which is 15% in decimal form. You get the taxes, and then you add them together. Now, if you don't need to know the taxes separately, if you just want the bottom line, the other way to do this is you take 1.13 or 1.15, sorry, 1.15 in this case, percent. I'm having my problems. 1.15, which is just 115% converted to decimal. And you multiply that by the base price, which is 21,500. And if you run that through your calculator, you'll get the same answer as that. Okay, so basically, instead of finding the tax separately and then adding it on, you find 15% and then you add it to the base price, which is the 100%. You just find 115%, or whatever the tax rate is. If it's 13%, you find 113%, and you can do it in one step. Okay, so it's just a little shortcut. You can do it either way. Now, sometimes, there'll be some discounts, right? So it says here at the end of 2004, a long time ago, car dealership was clearing out any unsold new vehicles by advertising a discount of 10% off. Okay, so if a new car costs that, how much is a car before taxes, right? So again, we could find 90% of the base price, and that's usually the way to do it, right? Exactly the way they do it. Right, just find 90% of the base price. So that's not a bad deal, because of course you're going to have taxes put back on top of that, but the taxes will be based on the lower price, not the original price. Some people do that. They wait until the new model year cars come out, and then they go and they shop at the dealer and they get a good deal on last year's model. And it can save you some money. Okay. All right, now we're going to take a look. Example 3, and this is on page, where are we? It's going to be on page 31, the top of page 31 here. Okay. So this is a sort of a typical car purchasing scenario, okay? And what we're going to do, we're going to go through this, we're going to do a deal review. Now, the deal review, if you just kind of flip to page 32, you'll see what it looks like. Okay, right in the middle of the page. You see the deal review? So it actually is a table, a form, and basically you want to have something in all of those boxes, even if it's 0 or a slash saying it doesn't apply. You want to have something in all those boxes. All right, so it says here, Liam purchases a new car with an MSRP, so that's what the base price, that's what the manufacturer suggests, $27,600. He negotiates a discount of $700. That's pretty typical of a car dealer. So, it's going to be 26.9, something like that. So we got to kind of keep that in mind as we're doing our calculation. Liam pays these additional costs. So there's a $750 freight charge, $100 Tiger air tax, $75 gas tax. It's not a gas tax, it's a gas guzzler tax or a gas consumption tax for vehicles that have a certain size engine or above. And it pretty much, like I say, it applies to anything that you drive around in northwestern Ontario. There's an $80 administration fee. That's to process all the paperwork and sort of get the vehicle ready. And then a $74 license plate fee. Oh, and a $20 gas fee. Okay, so they're going to give him $20 worth of gas. I imagine this is when gas is really, really cheap. Now, he doesn't have a trade-in, but he does make a down payment, which, by the way, is a really good idea. A down payment of $1,500. So that's good. And he finances the rest through the dealership at 4.9% compounded monthly for 48 months. So that's 4 years, isn't it? Okay, that's pretty typical vehicle purchasing. And it, to me anyway, that doesn't ring any alarm bells when I see that somebody has a fairly decent down payment for their vehicle as well. Okay. Now the finance fee is $52. So there's kind of the downside of doing it through the dealership. You may get a better interest rate, um, but they're going to charge you money just to consider your application. So something to do there is maybe to check with your bank first. If you have a good relationship with your bank, maybe check with them because they probably won't charge you anything to tell you how much they could lend you and what the interest rate would be. So the dealer will usually, their interest rate may or may not be competitive, but they'll usually take even if maybe your credit isn't as good as as it could be. So they're usually a little more flexible that way. The bank, a little stricter, might get a lower interest rate. Okay. Probably won't pay any fees to just to ask the bank what it would be. So something to think about. The other way to do it would be to go to the bank, and then if you want to hear what the dealer would say, then go back and negotiate that fee away. I don't know if they'll do it, but something to try. Okay, so we have all the information. So we're going to do this step by step. Now, when it shows these steps, if you flip over the page, it actually, they're just following the deal review. They're going down the left-hand side right now. Okay, so don't worry about having to memorize all these steps. All we're doing is we're doing the deal review. The first one is that we want the purchase price. So if we look over on page 32, we take a look at so it says MSRP list price. That's the manufacturer's suggested price or the sticker price. And then the discount, and there are boxes for that on the deal review, and then the purchase price, and that is also on the deal review. Okay, so you see that step one, you're just filling in the first three boxes on the deal review. Okay, and then step two, calculate the taxable total. Okay, so the taxable total, these are things that are taxed. It's usually if you have a bunch of things that have tax on them, GST or whatever it is, then you want to have them all and do your calculation instead of trying to figure out the tax on each one. That's just tedious. You just add them all up, and then you find out what the tax is. Okay, so and they're going to show you if you go down the deal review. What is it? It's the purchase price, which you already have there, your freight charge, your tire and air conditioning tax, your administration fee, your gas tax. That's your gas guzzler tax or your gas consumption tax. It keeps calling it gas tax. It's not, because gas is not taxed. It's the size of the engine of the vehicle that has that. And then any trade-in, which good old Liam didn't have. So we have all of those, and then we add them all up, and we get 27,905. So now you want to calculate the taxes. Now, I believe that you can't use the little shortcut I showed you here because they want the taxes as a separate entry, right? Yeah, exactly. So you have taxable total and then taxes. So if you're looking at page 32 right now, you can see it looks a little daunting when you look at that deal review, but really, especially that first column, it's just stuff that you've already that you've already worked out or you already have. Okay. All right. So what's next? We worked out the taxes and we can put them in the appropriate boxes. Whoops, sorry about that. What did I do? Okay. Here. Yeah. I've only been doing this, what, about 7-8 months now? One of these days I'm going to learn how to work this thing. All right. Another 7 or 8 months, I guess. So now what do they want? Okay, they want the delivery price. Now, when they say delivery price, they're kind of talking about the bottom line price, not how much it costs to be delivered. They're talking about how much it's going to cost for you to take this vehicle. So if you if that delivery price, if you showed up at the dealer with that amount in your pocket in $50 bills, then you could just drive it away. Okay, yeah, exactly. But most people don't have $31,521.35 in their pocket in $50 bills. Okay, so the next step then, step 5, and this is really where you get to do some calculations. We're going to do the, well, actually it's step 6. You're going to calculate the amount to be financed, because remember, we got the delivery price, but that's reduced by any manufacturer rebates and any down payment. So we know that Liam had $1,500 as a down payment, which is a pretty good down payment. It looks to be, what is that, about 5% of the price, something like that. Yeah, it's about 5%, just a little under 5%. Okay, plus the finance fee. So you would not pay the finance fee unless you were financing, and it looks like they don't charge tax on it. So there you go. So all of those items are sort of tallied up, and that's how much money you have to borrow to drive away with the vehicle. So at this point, at some point in the negotiations, you'd have the deal review. You would hand over a check probably. You might actually do that when you come back to pick up the vehicle, but at some point you'd need a cashier's check or a money order or something for the $1,500. That's your down payment. Okay, everything else you could, you know, it's financed. So step 6 is where we come in. And that's where I think a lot of people who haven't taken this course would kind of be stuck, right? They'd have to, you know, kind of guess or take the dealer's word for it, or maybe use an online annuity calculator. But we know how to do that, right? So let's take a look here. So we have the annuity, which is actually, we're going to use the one that calculates our regular payments. Okay. And so we need to know R here. Okay. And our PV is the value of the vehicle, which is, this is the amount we're financing, not the list price, not the MSRP. That's the amount of money that we didn't bring to the table, right? The $1,500 down payment, we paid that. Everything else we have to borrow. Okay. And our interest rate, now remember it's 49%, so 0.049, and it's compounded monthly, so it's going to be divided by 12. And our N, there's 12 per year times 4 years. I guess it was actually given in the question. So there's 48 compounding periods. Okay, so you crank all that through your calculator, and you end up with $691.21 per month. Now that's per month. That's a pretty big number. If you're getting paid bi-weekly, though, you could probably split it. It's about $350 out of every paycheck if you're getting paid every other week. That's really not such a bad deal. Now, if you were planning to pay it bi-weekly, I would ask them to do the calculation bi-weekly rather than monthly, and I think you would probably find you'd save a little bit of money at the end. You know, not a humongous amount, but you know, every little bit counts, right? Okay, so there you go. That's everything you need to complete the deal review. And remember, this number that we just calculated is right there, right? The interest rate, right? This is your percentage, your term, like 48 months, right? So you've got everything you need in this deal review, in this form, to make an informed decision. Okay, so obviously, well, you know, you need to have every entry in there either written in or crossed through so no one can change it after. And then, and only then, are you able to say, yes, I'm going to buy this vehicle. Because if you don't have all those numbers, if they tell you, you know, our finance guy is out right now, come back, you know, just sign this paper and come back tomorrow. It may be okay, but it's probably dodgy, right? You need to have this, and then there's no question about how much you're going to pay, how much everything costs. Okay, so just something when you're buying a new car. Like I say, most of them are fine, and you know, it's no big no big deal. Sometimes they'll promise you stuff. And again, it's not on the, it won't be on the deal review. They'll say, well, you know, I'll give you $500 in options. You just come back afterwards, right? And then you come back afterwards, and then, yeah. Okay. So here we go. So if you need to do the deal review, you could just photocopy that page 32, or just write them down. You don't have to write out the totals or anything like that. I mean, sorry, the titles, as long as I can follow it if they ask you for a deal review. All right, here we go. Support questions. Yeah, so just before we get into the support questions, we're talking about new vehicles here. Okay, so new truck, new car, maybe a new ATV, might not be quite as many entries on your deal review. Buying used vehicles is a little different. Same ideas and the same kind of financing and stuff, but it's done a little slightly differently. So we're going to look at that next in this unit. So that's why we're taking in this lesson. That's why we're taking 2 days to do this. Okay. All right, well, let's take a look at our support question. So it says Marty's buying a new van, okay, for $16,550. Again, it's probably a long time ago, plus an options package costing $1,170. So, you know, a new van, maybe he's getting shag carpet in it. I don't know. A disco ball. No, I mean, what would a van have? It, you know, it might be the options. It might be four-wheel drive, or, you know, traction control. You know, maybe just some upgraded instrument panel. You know, stuff like that. So some good stuff. Okay. So how much is a van including taxes? Well, it doesn't really say here what tax rate we should be using. GST is 13%. Let's just go with 13%. I don't know why I wrote it that way. It's 1.13 times 16550. Okay, so you just crank that through your calculator. So that's one way to do it. If you don't need to know what the taxes are, 1.13 times 16550, 1870150. Now, when you're working out money, in this case, I didn't have that last zero in my calculator, but money always has two decimal places or none. So make sure that you put that one in if you're writing down money amounts. Okay, if you said 0.5, it's not really entirely correct because it's a money amount. So there you go, $18,701.50. That's the total, and that would be, well, it doesn't really say how much negotiation he did, so I assume he negotiated a little bit there. Okay. Now, for question 2 here, it says Richard wants to buy a new SUV, so like a Ford Expedition or is it Yukon, a GMC Yukon? Is that an SUV? I'm not really sure. What's the really big one? There's one humongous one. Anyway, Chevy, no, Bronco, no, that's not it. Okay. So there you go. So he wants to buy a new SUV. It's on sale at a discount of 4.5%. Oh, that's pretty good. All right. How much will it cost after the discount, not including taxes? Okay. So we know how to do this one, right? We're just calculating 4.5% discount. So it's 31,690 times. Now, how do we do this? We could find 4.5% of that, but it makes more sense to take 100% minus 4.5, and that should be, what is that? That's going to be 95.5%. 100 minus 4.5, yeah, 95.5%. Now we take 95.5, we turn that into a decimal by dividing by 100, 0.955, because this is 10 or more. That's how we don't have a decimal rate or a zero rate in front of the decimal place, to the right of the decimal. So now we can do that. We can 31690 times 0.955, and we get 30,263.95. And I kind of was writing a little sloppy there, but you get the idea. So And of course, we expected the amount to go down by a little bit. So that looks good. Okay, so that was question 2. And now question 3 looks like there's going to be, yeah, it's a long question because it spills over into the next page. All right, well, let's take a look at it. Patty is planning the purchase of a new car. Okay, we got that. New car, important. I'm going to change to blue here. New car with an MSRP, we know what that means, of $19,995. So maybe like an Escort. Yeah, probably like a Ford Escort or something like that. I don't know what the other manufacturers call their little cars, but that's, if Patty was living in Sioux Lookout or living in Thunder Bay, that little tiny car might be just all she needs, right? So, well, I assume it's a she, Patty. So $19,000, almost 20,000. She adds a few options. Okay, well, air conditioning, that's important because it gets really hot. If she's commuting in traffic, it get really hot, so it might be worth it. An automatic transmission, well, of course. I mean, how can you eat, if you're gonna have your Tim Hortons coffee in the morning, you gotta have that one hand free, right? And a roof rack. So maybe she's gonna drive home every once in a while. She wants to put her stuff on top, save some shipping charges, right? Maybe she likes to go skiing or snowshoeing. She's going to put her stuff on the top of the car. So that's pretty good. Now, the salesperson informs her of the following. This is the freight charge, and again, that's usually a flat rate fee. They charge everyone that, no matter where they are. Of course, there's the tire tax and the air conditioning tax, the gas consumption tax, and an administration fee for doing all the paperwork to transfer the vehicle over to her, right? Any $74 license plate fee. Okay, and well, it's $30 gas fee. Well, I assume they're giving her a whole tank of gas for that. Patty does not have a vehicle to trade in, but she does make a down payment of $3,000. Good for Patty, and finances the rest through. And we continue on the next page. The dealership at 3.9% compounded monthly for 5 years. Okay, so that's fine. If the car's brand new, 5 years probably good. Finance fees of $45. Complete a deal review for Patty's purchase. Wow. Okay. So this is the sort of thing that we can really get started at. Okay. Now, I'm going to do a deal review here. Let's see if I can cheat a little bit and grab a copy of the deal review. Okay, what I'm going to do here, because I'm on a PC, I may be able to do this. You would just photocopy this and, as soon as I started doing this, I remembered what happened the last time. What happened the last time was that the Smart Bridget software locked up. And I don't know why. Now I remember why I didn't do this before. All right, I'll tab. It's all right. Oh, there we go. Okay, so maybe that's good. No? Okay. Okay. Don't mind me. There we go. Okay. Well, you know what? I may actually have sort of, I may have gotten away with this time. The last time I think it was worse. So what I'm just going to do, I'm going to try inserting it as a picture. You would just, there we go. Oh, look at that. So if you were doing this, you would just photocopy that page and just have the deal review. And, if you want to write them out, it's fine, but it could be kind of tedious. And I'm just locking this down. Okay, I think we're good. So let's take a look. Patty is purchasing a new car with an MSRP of 1995. So let's one. Okay, I just got to get back into. So 1995. I hope I got that. Yeah. Okay. So that's the manufacturers. Now the discount. I don't see any discount here, so we'll just strike that out. And so then the purchase price. Now the purchase price is going to be the 19,995 plus the options, right? So the options. Okay, that's supposed to be an O. The options are the air conditioning, which is 1,000, plus the automatic transmission, which is 1,200. You know, yeah, for people that don't drive, the guy learned on a standard. A lot of people did, but for people that didn't, it's really hard for them to drive a standard. It really makes it difficult. So it's probably worth it. 1,200 plus 450. Okay, I'm pretty sure those are all the options. So it's 2650 options. So then the purchase price then is going to be that 1995 plus that. So plus 19,995 equals, there we go. You see how things kind of quickly get much more expensive when you start adding options. It's fine. Those ones look all good. You know, maybe she'd get the factory sound system, but for such a small car, maybe she could just get by. Maybe get someone at Best Buy to do it if she's in Thunder Bay. Something to think about. Okay, now what else? Freight charge 459. So 459. Tire air tax gonna be $100. Okay, gas tax, which again, that is the gas guzzler tax. Not, it has nothing to do with the gasoline. Well, the consumption tax. And then $55 administration fee. So basically, because cars are valuable property, there's some, some registrations to do. And okay, let's see, trade-in allowance. She doesn't have a trade-in. And then the taxable total. So what we're going to do, we're going to add everything, these things right here. We're going to add all those up. Okay. So I still have the 22,645 on my calculator, so I'm going to add plus 459 plus 100 plus 65 plus 55. Oops. All right. Well, I got to. Oh, yeah, I got it. Okay. So 24003. Hopefully we got that. Now, taxes. Ooh, it doesn't say how much the taxes are. Well, it doesn't matter. It'll matter only if you're checking the answer in the back. You know what? Maybe that's what I should do. I'll just check in the back here. And so this is lesson 10. Okay. So I'm just going to figure out. Okay, well, I got different numbers here. 22,645. Oh, purchase price. Huh. Okay, 22,645. 459, 100, 65.55. Taxable total. All right, well, I have a different, let's see, 22,645. I'm going to try this again. 22,645 plus 459 plus 100 plus 65 plus 55. 2, 3, yeah. Huh. Well, go figure. All right. So I got to figure. I'm not quite sure what I did, but it's just a calculator error here. So I'm going to change to blue, and that's going to be 23324. Now, it doesn't actually tell us in here what the taxes are going to be. Let's see, times 0.15. Okay, so it looks like they use 13%. Let's 23324 times 0.13. Yeah, indeed. They use 13%. So I'm just going to write that in there. So that's actually good that they use that because so 303212. And then the license plate fee, I think they wanted was $74 for that. $74. All right. Gas fee, they think they wanted $30 for that. Lien payout, none. And then, so delivery price is just the sum of all of these things right here. So, 23324 plus the $3,032.12 plus the $74 plus 30, and the delivery prices that I have is $26,460.12. Okay. So she's not getting any manufacturer rebate now. If she was going to school, she might be able to put $500 or $250 or something like that. You got to ask for those things. Okay. Down payment. She had a fairly nice down payment, didn't she? It was like $3,000. Perfect. Okay. The reason we like to see a down payment is that it means that the person's demonstrated an ability to save money, right? Because remember, she's going to be spending a few $100s a month to pay for this car. If she can't save a few $100s a month in the months leading up to buying the car, it sort of makes you wonder just how far she's stretched, right? Or how good she is managing her money. So, all right, well, we pretty well. Let's just we'll get almost to the end here, and then we'll pick it up tomorrow. So the finance fee is going to be $45. Okay, and then the amount financed. Now let's watch this here, right? The amount financed is the delivery price minus any down payment. So the delivery price minus $3,000 plus the $45 finance fee should be $23,505.12, right? So 23,505.12. So what I did, it's maybe not really obvious. I subtracted the down payment and then I added the finance fee to this number right here. Okay. So that's it. And then this one, there's nothing there. And the interest rate they're offering her was 3.9%. That's pretty good. Okay, and it is monthly for 5 years. Okay, 5 years monthly. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll save the working out of the monthly payment until tomorrow. You can go ahead and work that out. Tomorrow we'll finish up buying new vehicles, and then we will look at the differences and the process of buying used vehicles. All right, well, thanks for joining us today, and we'll talk to you more.